I saw something, and I'm not quite sure how much press it's getting, but it sparked a really serious conversation in one of my female groups. Shout out to High Maintenance Black Girls Facebook group, and I'm going to read something with the moderator or the owner of that group, Kennedy. I hope I say her last name Rumpf. She did give me permission to share something that she said in the group, and I'm gonna debating on where I want to start with this. But I'm still trying to make sure I can actually see comments, because the last time it was like I was ignoring your comments, and it really wasn't. I just didn't know what the heck I was looking at. So I want to make sure I can see them this time and respond properly. I'm so used to going live on my phone and not on my MacBook. So I appreciate your patience. So where do I want to begin? Gosh, so something happened. It is getting some press. I don't think it's getting the press that it needs to. And it's just really heartbreaking. I read about it yesterday and had a conversation about it today, and it's truly heartbreaking. And you can go and look up the news yourself. I'm looking at an article on BET News, but one of my favorite actually news channels to look at is Black Girl News and Black Girl Unlost, because she's always keeping my particular community informed of what's happening to Black women who look like me that I can relate to, and it's something that I really, really care about, and I feel connected to, and I feel like an urge to talk about these things, and also to help to bring awareness as well, and to help further the conversation, and also find ways to do things to be able to, I hope that when I leave this earth that I see that this has changed. As a Black woman, I know it is a fact that we are, and I've even lived this fact that we are the least protected, the least valued on this planet. Although we are the mother of humanity, we're the least, just for whatever reason, we're the least valued, we're the least protected. And people can say because so many Black women are not feminine and things like that. And that is not true. We've been over-sexualized even to this day, abused in so many different ways, and continue to be. And we are not allowed, as a general rule, to be victims, to have feelings. And it's crazy. In and out of our community, there's just way too much brutality on Black women. Even myself, I am a domestic violence survivor. And I could not even get a conviction on the person who brutalized me. And I believe he tried to kill me. Whatever he did to me, I know I woke up on the floor in a pool of my blood. I hit the ground so hard that literally the wood floor, there was a dent and a chip in the wood floor, and some of the wood chips were going through my face. I had 9 stitches in my face, my jaw broken in 2 places, and he refused medical attention. I had to beg him to take me to the hospital. And when I did, I believe because of the color of my skin, that they just did not care enough to call the police on my behalf, to even intervene on my behalf, looking at me and seeing that I'm afraid to really say something and tell the truth. And then when I did find the courage to speak up and tell the truth, people were saying, what did you do to deserve it? I remember the first police officer that I spoke with, he looked like, and he treated me like he didn't believe me. There was a question if it was an accident. How could I accidentally break my own jaw in 2 places? How could I do that? I remember being in like this forensic room and being questioned like I was the perpetrator, and pictures taken from head to toe, and pictures taken of me, and still, this question of, if I'm actually a victim, and if I deserve justice. So I'm going to leave that there, but I want to paint the picture of what we go through as Black women. A lot of us, when it pertains to just the way that we are treated by people. And I believe that he treated me the way that he did just because of pure jealousy. He was a loser, and he hated my intelligence, my tenacity, my drive to always do more, and the fact that he had to sit there and watch me doing better and better and better in life, and always striving to do better. And he would say a lot of disparaging things about it. And when he thought that I was about to leave him, and I was, that's when he tried to take me out of this world. And there's a reason for me saying all that. All this comes together. It's something that I see happen. And of course, it happens to other people of other colors and races. But my concern is what happens to, other Black women. That's my main concern, because I'm just so sick of seeing story after story after story. I mean, literally several of them per day of it happening all over the country, of these stories that are untold, and this almost epidemic when it comes to the brutality against Black women. A story just came out about a young lady, a beautiful young lady, 25 years old, from Charlotte, and she was a businesswoman, and her name was Shanquella Robinson, and she went on a trip with people that she thought were her friends. One of them was, I believe, a longtime friend. And again, you guys can look up her story and find all the details yourself. I'm not going to go into all the details. I'm just going to talk about the main things. That she went on a trip with friends who were frenemies. And the same day, something happened. And a day or so later, next day or something like that, everybody came home back to America but her. And her so-called friends told her family that she died of alcohol poisoning. And, from there, it never smelled right. I remember when I saw that story, I was like, no way, there's no way. So she was murdered by her friends, like the same day they got there. And I believe that was premeditated. I believe, because I've seen it happen, not to this degree, but I believe that was the whole purpose of the trip, was to isolate that girl and do what they did to her. And apparently there's a video going around. I refuse to watch it. I will not watch it. And I encourage a lot of you guys to not watch it, because I don't understand what why do people get so, I don't know, like, why do people want to consume these type of images, first of all? But I will not take that into my spirit, my psyche. It's bad enough that this is even existing. I don't want to watch it. It's not entertainment. But there is a video circulating of what they did to her. And from my understanding, she looked like she was drugged because she was not fighting back. She was being jumped by these hood booger heifers. And if you look at the picture of her and you look at the picture of the people that she went on the trip with, look at her and look at them. I'm going to leave that right there. But she went on a trip with them, and this is not to victim blame. It is a lesson to be learned in all these things. I hope. But these girls, they jumped on her and they jumped her. She was not fighting them back. They beat this girl. They beat her. Her neck was broken. Her back was cracked. And they left her dead in that hotel. And then they all went home. She is the only one that's listed as being a businesswoman. And look at her and look at them. Okay? So there's a whole bunch of stories, but I'm going to talk about another one really quick. There's another one, a young girl, Kanika Jenkins. And I remember this just a little bit, but one of my friends made me more aware of the story. A young woman, and this was a couple years ago, she was found dead in a hotel freezer in Chicago. And from my understanding, it may have taken a while to figure out why. But this young, beautiful 19-year-old girl was on her way. She was on her way to nursing school or just got in. So she had a vision. She had a plan. She was on her way. She was accomplishing her goals and dreams. And for whatever reason, she was at a party and she was out with these unsavory characters who I believe set her up. You don't just accidentally just wind up dead in a freezer. But again, she had a vision. She had a purpose. She was walking in her purpose. She was on her way. And then, these people who were absolutely jealous of her light, jealous. Sometimes people could be jealous of your potential. You haven't even made it there, and they could be jealous of that in itself. And I'm hoping that some people will come on and have this conversation with me, but if not, I've got plenty to say on my own as well. Sometimes people can be jealous of you and you haven't even made it there, but they look at you and they can tell you're a star. They can tell that you have a light, and they want to diminish it. When people are not in alignment with you, it is very hard for them to be in the same space. They're not comfortable. And me personally, I've experienced this my entire life. Most recently, I tried to befriend a lady that I met. I was at a park with my children. My girls were in a Girl Scout meetings, and they were cleaning up the park. And my son was there, and he wound up making friends with another little boy his age. Cute little boy, adorable little boy. And the mom, I thought she was a little rough around the edges, but she was very friendly with me. We exchanged numbers because we wanted our sons to continue to play and be friends. But the more and more we talked to each other, the more and more I noticed that when she learned what I did for a living, it was almost like it was kind of like off-putting to her that I was a singer and that I did not do a traditional job that she did. And she would make these comments that I always kind of felt a little weird about. And I noticed that we just kind of like fell apart but it was definitely connected to the fact that she would be very uncomfortable with who I was and with the way that I lived my life, and more so what I did for a living. Um, and there was a little bit of judgment. There was always a little bit of judgment tied to her finding out, oh, you're leaving, you're going out of town, you're doing this and that. Well, who's going to take care of your kids? And so we never got close. And, I kind of let people fall away because unfortunately I've been a victim enough times in life that I refuse to be again. So when I start to see things, I've learned how to, I guess better late than never, but I have learned how to really trust my instinct. And if you give me an inkling of this feeling of uncomfortableness or darkness, or I feel like there's a hint of jealousy, I'm going to let you fall off. I'm just going to let you fall off. I'm going to be as much of a lady about the situation as I can and just politely walk away. I'll be cordial, but I'm just going to let you fall off. I can remember some of the first times that I discovered the way that people act when they are jealous of you. And unfortunately for me, a lot of my experience was me being victimized by girls who kind of looked like me, same skin color, but hated me because I was me. It's crazy because whenever I see a black woman or even a brown woman, but more so for me, when I see a black woman that I think is just beautiful and she's well spoken and she's poised, I look at her and I'm like, yes, like, wow, like, when I was younger and I hadn't quite found myself, I would look at her and be like, wow, I want to be that. I would be inspired. There was never anything in me that would be like, look at this, who she thinks she is. I don't have a dark spirit, but there are a lot of people like that. And when they see you and they see that you have a light, and if that's not what they want, and if that's not who they are, I don't know. It's like it does something to their darkness. It aggravates their demons or something. I don't know. I can't relate to that because it's never been me. I've never wanted to be that. I've always wanted to be the best version of me and continue to be better, and around people that are better than me in lots of ways, and around people that will inspire me and encourage me to always step it up. But when we first left Jersey when I was a kid and moved to the South, I remember living in this town called Memphis, Texas. Funny thing is, a lot of these heifers follow me to this day. And that's fine. They can keep watching from the nosebleeds. I got nothing for them. But we were living there, and that was the first time I experienced being in a community with other black women who hated me just for being myself. They made fun of the way that I talked. They, because I had an East Coast accent, of course, and it was very strong, much thicker then. They made fun of the way that I dressed, the way that I carried myself. My grandmother took pride in taking me and my, cousins shopping at Nordstrom and stuff like that. I dressed well, and I took pride in my appearance, no matter what. And we didn't have much money. We were living in Memphis, Texas. That tells you a whole lot. That's a very poor place. We were living there too, so we weren't, wealthy. But there's a certain thing you don't have to, no matter what your socioeconomic status is, no matter how much money you have, wealth is, I think it's energy. It's energy more so than anything else. And so I've always kind of had that spirit and that energy. And for me, it's important the way that I talk to people, the way that people talk to me. I'm always goal oriented, and those are things that those girls hated. And some of that stuff wasn't my fault. They talked about how I was too skinny and I needed to eat a pork chop sandwich. And I experienced that in college as well. And a lot of them were just already built like mongooses, like, my God. But again, not my fault. And I didn't judge them for that. I do now. I do now. They would do things to me, like we'd be walking down the hallway in school, and they would bump into me and push me into the locker on purpose and then say excuse me, just bullied me. And they were just so evil toward me, all because of who I am. And I didn't quite understand then until I started to get older and see even more of that same behavior. Like, oh, okay, so when they look at me, they must see something that they're not, and they hate that. But that's how I was treated. I remember one of my worst experiences living in that town. I was outside playing, and for whatever reason, the schools didn't get involved with the bullying. The parents, maybe they just didn't realize that it was that bad. They would say things like, well, what did you do? What did you say? Which, we all evolve and we know better now. And, a lot of those adults, I'm sure they wouldn't handle the same way today. And they would, this was a time when everybody can just go outside and play, and the parents didn't have to be standing over you watching. So, I'm outside and I'm, talking to one or two little girls. I think I had like only two girlfriends then, and one of them was gone. And then I was left with a really skinny girl. And most of the girls who didn't like me, she was kind of like partial to them because they were her friends and her cousins, and she grew up with them. So she did nothing to help me. And those what do I want? Those wildebeest came up to me. It was like maybe three of them, and they picked me up and they carried me down the street. So I'm like this, like carried me by my hands and my arms, and I'm flailing and fighting, trying to get out of their hands. And again, they're all much bigger than me, so I'm not getting out of their grasp. And they started swinging me like a jump rope. And again, very country town, lots of mud holes and potholes. I didn't know what any of that crap was until I left Jersey and moved to the trash can of America. A lot of these places I lived for a while. But they kept swinging me like a jump rope, and then they threw me into the mud puddle. And here I am, 39 years old. I still remember it. Those type of experiences still leave an imprint on me to this day. I take bullying very seriously, and they thought it was funny. Got that they threw me into this mud puddle. Me with the nice clothes and speaking the way I did. And I wasn't haughty. I wasn't. But even if I was, that gives nobody the right to bully me, to put their hands on me, whether you like me or not. But I didn't do anything to provoke these things. And, moving from town to town, I experienced some of this when I lived in Hobart as well, this town called Hobart, Oklahoma. There was a couple of girls. One of them wound up reaching out to me, interestingly enough, I think last year, and asking me to pray for her. And I did. But I got to be honest with you, it was very hard for me to respond for her and to her and even say that. Because what I really wanted to say was, F you, ho. Whew, let me bring it back in. But when I was living in this particular town, I had experiences like that as well, just being bullied by people. And this is the frenemy part. That's the part I wanted to get to. I wound up developing these relationships in my teens and in my 20s and even the earlier part of my 30s before I finally just cut it all off and just got totally fed up. It took me way too long to get there, but I'm grateful that there was enough grace for me to get there and survive these experiences, because these two young girls, Shanquella, Kanika, the beautiful girl named, I think it was Kayla or Michaela, out of that girl that was in, I think, Mount Vernon, New York, who was brutally stabbed and murdered, cheerleading captain, just beautiful girl, from all I could see, a beautiful spirit. She was being bullied by these hood book of heifers who literally, like after a parade, they found this girl, they cornered her, and they stabbed her to death in front of everybody. Jealousy is a murderous spirit. And that's the whole point of this. Jealousy is a murderous spirit. And there's so many of us that have these experiences, of having to deal with or being exposed to people who hate you because you have a light, because you have beauty, because you have purpose. And instead of them looking at you and being, I don't know who that is, but instead of them looking at you and allowing it to be an inspiration, a lot of them will look at you and they will hate you for it. They will hate you and they will hate it. And you've got to be stingy with yourself. So I had several frenemies in life, and I won't name them. Number one, because their names don't deserve to ever, my lips don't deserve to grace their name, first of all, at this point. But these are still important experiences to talk about. One of them, we became friends, and we were so-called best friends for many years. But you know how we met? We were in church. My father got hired to be the new pastor there. Her father was the previous pastor, and he became the associate pastor. So we were both the preacher's daughters in that town. And in places like that, being the preacher or the pastor's daughter is a place of kind of prestige. And also, that was one of those towns that I didn't even know they exist, but these towns actually exist where there's train tracks. I never knew what across the tracks meant until I moved to this particular town called Hobart, Oklahoma. There's a train tracks, and there's the black side of town and the white side of town, and even the cemetery is segregated. There's a big Jesus statue. I don't know if it's there now because it's been a long time, but at that time there was a big Jesus wept statue, and on the back side of Jesus, I can't make this crap up, that's where the black people were buried. That's that type of town. So some of this spirit and some of these things, sometimes as a child, if you're a child that grows up in this and you were taught to be this way, to be this ugly on the inside, some of it you cannot help. Maybe as a young child if you're taught it. But everybody has the opportunity to choose differently. I will say that. So it could be a reason, but it is not an excuse. No matter what, it is not an excuse. But I remember thinking to myself, do these black people know that they're free? my first day in this church, I'm sitting on the front row because that's kind of what you have to do when you're a part of the first family. At least back then you did. Oh God, I hated it, y'all. That's another conversation. She's sitting on the front row. She comes in with her friends. And the very first thing this girl says to me, the very first thing she says to me is, I don't like you. I can't make this stuff up. That is how our so-called friendship began. That was the very first thing she ever said to me in life. Her first words to me, I don't like you. And then she's looking me up and down and just criticizing and making it seem like it's a joke. I'm kind of laughing it off. You know, I'm not that self-confident at the time. Also, I don't really have that many options. I don't know anybody. And we're going to have to be around each other like all the time, which we were. And we wound up developing a really interesting friendship that lasted for some decades. That was always like that. In high school, we were like inseparable, but then also there was always this element of abuse with her. She would call me crackhead Barbie. It's kind of funny now. But it wasn't then. And talk about the fact that I'm too skinny and things like that. And I found myself surrounded with lots of female friends throughout my life that were like that were frenemies, always hanging around, always around you, but you could tell that there was something not right, that they hated you, and they would express their jealousy in different ways and this nasty spirit in different ways. I know that when we got to become adults, we were still friends and we would still, kind of be around each other. I know that I was down on my luck at one point, and my daughter and I, when my daughter was in kindergarten, my oldest, we went and we stayed with her. She opened up her home to me, and I thought it was a kind gesture, but at the same time, she was literally kicking my back in as I was trying to, get on my feet and figure things out. And we had a disagreement, and I think the disagreement was because of a pair of my shoes or something that she wanted to wear. I don't remember, but it was something very trivial, and this girl kicked me and my daughter out of her house over the argument. And I think she took so much pleasure in doing that. And it got so to the point to where I was so afraid of her. She was 2-3 times my size. I called the cops on that girl. How is this your best friend, but you're calling the cops on her? When we would get into disagreements, it was almost kind of like her spirit was, how dare you, to me. How dare you speak up for yourself, or something along those lines. And, that's a frenemy relationship. There was one time we went to a party together, and there was some guy that she liked, and he wound up, talking to me, and I wound up leaving the party with him. And she was so upset the next time she saw me. She was cussing me out and trying to fight me about this guy that didn't belong to either one of us. And she was literally putting her hand in my face and pushing me like that. So it was like this form of abuse that I don't think I recognized for a while. And then I wound up going on later on in life and seeing other things like this. Going to college. I remember I went to a black college, and a part of my experience there was 2 times I was in danger by girls who in one of them in college I went to high school with, but I still didn't know her. This particular high school, I was only there for 1 year, my senior year of high school, and we didn't really have much to do with each other at all. I went to school, I went to work, and I would sing. That was it. And so we wound up being at the same college our freshman year. And I remember, some of us, she and I, having some mutual friends, and there was apartments. So the college kind of had different areas depending on your academic achievements. So I had a particular scholarship where I got to stay in apartments. And if you were not, and they were called Scholars Inn. So if you did not, I guess, meet the requirements to stay in Scholars Inn, then you were in the dormitories. And I would hang out in the dormitories because I had a couple of girlfriends there, and we're all in the same college. And one of them, like, to this day, I just love her so much. She's somewhere in Texas. Her name is Ashanti, and her voice, she has a voice that is just, oh my God, it should be heard everywhere. But she's a nurse. Oh God, if she ever sees this, girl, I miss you, love you so much. And I'm so appreciative of her. So this particular day, me and Ashanti and a few other females were all just having conversations, hanging out in somebody's dormitory. A couple of girls were getting their hair done. I don't recall what the conversation was, but young kids in college having these pseudo intellectual conversations and debates about whatever it was. And we kind of had some opposing views, but it wasn't a fight, not at all. Everything was cordial. We were having fun. And this girl, I had no idea that she was harboring these type of feelings for me. Because like I said, I had nothing to do with her in high school. And even in college, I didn't really know her like that. All of a sudden, I don't know what set this girl off, but I kid you not, she slammed the flat iron down on the dresser, and she starts looking at me going, "What's up? What's up?" Now, mind you, I don't know what this means because I wasn't raised like this, and I don't know. Like, I've been in a couple fights, not gonna lie, yes. And I've had to handle my business to defend myself, but that's not me. So I'm like really looking kind of confused. A couple of the girls kind of like just stood there and nobody intervened. So she starts getting in my face and pushing me and doing this thing that like boy gangsters do and stuff. What you want to do? What you want to do? And I'm thinking, chick, nothing. And she's like, I'm tired of you. And I'm like, and I'm generally thinking, is this girl off her meds? So my girlfriend Ashanti gets in between us, and she's like, you always think, this is what she said to me, you think you're better than everybody. I can't stand you, B. Even back in high school, you think you're, and I was like, whoa, she's hated me since high school, and I had no idea this chick was about to try to beat me down. And my girlfriend Ashanti, like, so now a crowd is coming, and I always thought this was just really disgusting and toxic. Nobody is trying to break this up and defend me or stop this. They're like excited. Ooh, it's a fight. That's so animalistic to me. That's so disgusting and animalistic to me, and so low class and low level. Like, is your life that crappy that this is the type of entertainment that you want? So my girlfriend Ashanti, she's kind of like genuinely like, okay, this is crazy. This girl picked me up. She was like, I'm not going to let this go down like this. She literally picked me up and carried me up out that door. I'm like, picked me up out the crowd. And she was like, nope. And back then Ashanti was like, Lady of Rage built, like, you look at her and you just know, like, nope, it's not going to go down. Not with her in the building. And she literally walked me across campus back to Scholars Inn. And we were talking about it, like, what in the world was that? And so I think then is when I started to realize, okay, there's something to this. There's a pattern, and I need to really start trying to be more perceptive and discerning about being around people that energetically are not on my level. You just can't. You can't do it because it's dangerous. And when people don't like you and are jealous of you, jealousy is a murderous spirit. When a person is jealous of you, you don't know what lengths they're going to go to try to feel better about themselves, because being around you and seeing you makes them feel worse about themselves. It's like it reminds them of everything that they're not. And instead of processing it and transmuting that energy into allowing it to be something that will encourage them to find out who they are and find out how to walk in their own path and be successful in their own way, instead, it's like they will look at you. Who the hell does she think she is? She thinks she's better. Blah, blah, blah. And I've had a lot of people over my life say this. Who the hell do you think you are? Who the hell do you think you are? That's the problem. Please think you're somebody, please. And then you wouldn't behave like this. You wouldn't be like this. I wonder if that rapper that just got murdered, if that was, you can't convince me that some of that wasn't the spirit of jealousy. When you are elevating in life and when you are in a certain place in life, you cannot go backwards. You cannot go down, and don't apologize for it. You cannot apologize for who you are and where you are in life. And you can't help everybody. It's not your job to bring people up to your level. It's your job to protect you and your level and where you're at, and protect your neck, protect yourself. I noticed that when I would say and announce things that I'm doing and I'm trying to do, it's like people will go out of their way even now to try to sabotage it and to say just the nastiest things. I had someone on the phone last night say to me, oh, you're still there? Oh, basically saying she thought I would have already failed out by now. She thought I would have failed at whatever the endeavor is that I'm doing right now, whatever it is I'm doing to advance my career and why would you even wish that on me and my children? Why? Why would you even assume that? If that's the type of vibration that you have about me, we don't need to be talking. We need to have some distance, because that type of vibration, that energy, it's alive. The stuff that you think about, the stuff that you say, you're manifesting all that. And people could be behind you literally praying for your downfall. And they may not even know that's what they're doing. They may not even be aware, but that doesn't mean it's not still happening. So when you're saying that you want to do something and someone says, like, for instance, I know when I was a teenager going into my 20s, me and my girlfriends would talk about life, and I always wanted to talk about where I'm going in life, what I want to do. And I remember saying one time that when I become a mother, I want to do it a certain way. I want to have a housekeeper and this and that. And the first frenemy that I told you about, she said to me, well, that's just lazy. I don't understand why you think you need to have all of that. Red flag, red flag, red flag. All right, we're just not in alignment. Gotta go. Because that's the same person that, you know, when she does see that I have a housekeeper coming over every once in a while, and she does see that I have a nanny and I'm looking for another nanny, that's going to be the first one. You know, she's no longer in my life because she would be the first one to, you know, pretend like she's supportive, perhaps, or be silent. Be silent, not say anything in support of me, not do anything in support of me, but behind my back, sowing all kinds of seeds of sabotage and discord, and praying for my downfall. You know, I had someone who was supposed to be a relative when I first became a flight attendant. Some of you guys have heard me say this before. That's when I knew it was time to let her go. When I told her that the first airline made an offer to hire me and I was going to training. You know, as you guys know, I'm a single mother, and unfortunately for my children, I am their sole parent. I have full custody of them, and with the youngest two, it's a really sad situation as to why, but nothing I can do as far as that's concerned. It's done. It's a done deal. So this woman who's supposed to be, who I looked up to for a big part of my life, and we're supposed to be related, when I told her about this, and this was a dream I'd been trying to achieve for several years, alongside, you know, my career as a singer and things like that, she says to me, it's bad enough they don't have their father. Now they're not going to have their mother either. And that told me so much. That told me everything I needed to know about that relationship. I never got a congratulations, never, for being one out of literally at least 50,000 people that applied for that and being selected. I never got a wow, this is a huge endeavor. What can I do to help you? And at that time, she lived only 5 minutes away from me. She never helped me with my kids. Never once, you know, never once would say, let me babysit while you're going to rehearse and going to perform. What can I do to help you with your kids in school while you're going to be away for training for a month? None of that stuff. That's what she said to me, and had nothing positive to say. Nothing. There was another friend who was a frenemy. And I'm saying this because there's going to be a lot of you guys that can relate to this. And if you can, tell me your story. Tell me your story. Join the live, drop a comment. People need to see these examples, and they need to know what to avoid. There was another friend, a friend of me, that everything was fine as long as I was single and we're out running the streets and being wild and stuff together. But when I started to settle down and be more focused on, I want to be remarried. You know, I want to have a healthy, loving relationship, and changing the dynamics of my home and my career and everything else. Everything was fine as long as she was the, you know, you could say the superstar. She was the one that was all over the world performing and doing her thing. And I was her biggest fan. I mean, I still have her music to this day, and I'm always supportive of her. And it was fine then because she was always inspiring me. But when I started to come into my own, when I moved across the country, when I started to come more into my power, when I started to realize more personal success, when I started to do more when it pertained to my career in music, when I started to do a little bit more in TV, and when she saw me finally in a very healthy, loving, stable relationship, it's like all of a sudden she started falling off. Now there's nothing, and it almost made me feel like, okay, there's no narcissistic supply for her anymore because she doesn't look at me as beneath her. It's sad. It's sad. Frenemies can do some, they can do some real damage. You know, at best, they can make you question yourself and really, really hurt your feelings. At worst, they could destroy or even erase your entire life. And you need to be aware of this. So there's something that I wanted to read that Kennedy said, and we were like, whoa. Okay. So I'm a part of a group called High Maintenance Black Girls. Love the group, brand new group. And I love how we just really encourage each other, and we uplift each other, and we celebrate being high maintenance with ourselves. And we celebrate being stingy. We celebrate being selfish with ourselves, and having and saying to ourselves and each other all the time, who do you think you are? In a positive way, because you need to know this. You need to be able to answer this. But anyway, so Kennedy, she said this. This is why I don't let anyone around me who isn't on a certain alignment. ... I stay protected because I protect myself first. This woman called me a classist, and I don't look down at others because of where they come from. But it is true, a poverty mindset is different than an abundance mindset. This is why when you elevate in life, you leave those that are still in certain situations alone, because jealousy and envy is real. So she says, story time. I tried to be nice to a girl when I was 21 who was an ex-stripper from a horrible neighborhood. I was trying to show her new things and even introduce her to my clients from my business, because when I was out traveling in different countries, my clients still needed help. Long story short, I caught her stealing out of my purse, and so I blocked her. And on my 22nd birthday, I was at Saks Fifth Avenue shopping, and I got a call from my cousin and landlord. That ghetto girl came to my apartment with her thug friend pretending to be USPS, trying to get in my apartment. She wanted to fight me and brought her thug friends along to mostly probably rob me and hurt me because I cut off communication. She told me the guy always carried a knife with him. Stay away from low vibrational people, period. You can't help everyone. God elevates you, and when God elevates you, you have to leave them. All the stories of successful people that are set up, and then we just kind of went on to talk about that, all the people that were just set up because, let me tell you something. You cannot swear allegiance to your past. Thank it. Say God bless it, honor it, because you probably need a lot of that to be who you are today and to get to where you are today. But you got, my mother's always telling me, you got to be willing to let go. Let go of the temps. Don't fall in love with the temps. You got to be willing to let go. If you have to be focused, honor the things that deserve to be honored in the past. But being loyal to a relationship just for the sake of being loyal, hell no. You need to be loyal to you, your life, your kids, your dreams, your goals. That's first. Don't be loyal to these relationships just because you were in them for 20 or 30, 40 years. You have to evaluate, what is this relationship to me right now? What is it bringing to my life? What is it taking away from my life? Still trying to be down with anybody. First of all, listen to the word down. Why the hell do you want to be down with anybody? Don't do it. Don't do it, because it's going to wind up bringing you back, bringing your butt back down. Don't do it. Jealousy. Again, I'm very, very grateful that I survived long enough to be able to get the lesson, and I feel like I got the lesson way too late, but at least I got it. To always trust your gut, trust that energy and that inner voice, and yes, elevate yourself. Keep yourself on a pedestal, please. When you're up higher, you can see around you so much more, and you can see so much more of the BS coming. So yes, do that. Who do you think you are? Who the hell do you think you are? Know it, own it. When somebody says you think you're better, you damn right I do. My grandmother says this to me often, and I love it. She said when she was growing up, some of the girls in the neighborhood in the church, other church ladies would say to her, you think your children are so much better. And she would say, the hell I do, because they're mine. Yeah, I think I'm better. Yeah, I think my kids are better. Yeah, I do, because they're mine, because it's mine. Of course I'm going to treat my life better. I should, and you should as well. I'm going to be more preferential to me, my goals, my dreams, and everything else. I'm going to put myself first. I'm going to put what I want first above, whatever your agenda is. And the people who are healthy and the people who are in that same alignment and they are satisfied with their life and they have a light and they're not darkness. They don't have dark energy, and they know where they're going. They understand it and they recognize it. One of my really good friends, Lala, I love her and I so appreciate our relationship, which has grown over the past couple of years. And we were talking recently and she was like, okay, well, while you're in town, what do you want to do? And I've got this and that going on. And I said, well, right now, I've got a lot of drills. I've got a lot of exams. And so while I'm here, I really need to focus on, leveling up my metal. So, it would be good if you come to see me, at the hotel, and we can hang out at the bar, we can hang out at the restaurant. And you know what she said to me? She said, I understand. Perfect. I would love to come see you there and we can spend time there. She didn't say, oh, it's like that. You can't spend no time with me. You can't come hang out with me, because she gets it. She gets it. She's a healthy person. And those are the type of relationships, the only ones that you should have time and energy for. People who understand and respect your boundaries, who want to see you succeed because they're succeeding as well. That's it. Like, please accept nothing less, be nothing less. All right. I got some things to do, but I wanted to talk about this, and there's so much more I want to say, but I'm going to have this conversation with some of my girls in person soon. Just know this. when you are leveling up in life, when you are going to another place, you got to be so careful. You got to be so careful. Pray for discernment, practice discernment, trust your gut, even if you look crazy, even if you look absolutely crazy, it doesn't matter. Do and be around the people in your gut that you know that you should be around. And a lot of times it's a very small circle, and that's for a reason. It's for a reason. It's not worth it to be popular and well loved and liked by everybody. For what? What does that do for you? I care less about, and I'm not saying that's what happened to these girls, that that's what they wanted, but I'm just saying care less about, social media loving you and all the likes and the popularity and trying to floss for people. Forget all that. Like, really pay attention to what's real and be so stingy with yourself and your light, because there are a lot of people out there that hate your success because they don't have it. And when they don't have anything to lose, they will take what's yours because they want to bring you down to their level. So you got to be real careful about that, man. I can't say that enough. I've got story after story of myself and other things that I've seen of, people that just hate you because they hate you, that will do whatever they can, to destroy whatever it is that you're trying to build. All right. Bye-bye.